Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's so great to see so many of you have decided to join us today on our live webinar. Before we do begin, I'd just like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. I pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. So before we fully get into the whole webinar, I do want to just give some housekeeping. So just so everyone knows, this webinar is actually being recorded. We're recording our audio and the video footage and the slide presentation, which we're currently sharing. So if you guys do have any written questions, we'll also be recording those as well. But we don't have access to your webcam or your microphones, so you guys don't need to worry about being recorded yourselves. If you do have any privacy concerns at all, just get in contact with UTS by emailing marketingprivacy@uts.edu.au, and the email is also on the slide below. So firstly, I do want to introduce our panel today. I'm Pat, so I'm a student ambassador at UTS Science, and I'm currently working on my PhD in parasitology. I'm also pleased to introduce your hosts. So that's Associate Professor Bronwyn O'Brien, our Program Director for Medical Science, Dr. Francis Geronimo, our Program Director for the Bachelor of Advanced Science Majors in Pharmaceutical Science and Pre-Medicine, and Dr. Charles Cranfield, our Program Director for the Biomedicine Science Major in the Bachelor of Science. We also have Grace on our panel, and Grace is also a student ambassador like myself, and she is currently studying the Bachelor of Science, majoring in Medical Science. So together, we'll be presenting with you an overview of our medical and health sciences at UTS, and just answer any questions you guys might have about the degrees themselves, or even just the UTS lifestyle. We'll run through why you should consider medical sciences and health sciences, what career opportunities these degrees present, and just basically discuss what it's like to be a student. We'll then open up the floor, so if you guys have any questions, you can submit them.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Welcome everybody to UTS Science, at least in its virtual form. As Pat mentioned earlier, my name is Bronwyn and I'm an Associate Professor in the Faculty of Science, and I look after the Medical Science program. Now, probably the burning question that a lot of you have is what ATAR do I actually need to get into the course? So this slide just basically summarises the courses that have a medical and health science flavour within the Faculty of Science, along with their codes and also their selection ranks. Now, these selection ranks may vary a little bit from year to year, but generally speaking, this will give you an idea of the approximate ATAR that you would be looking at for getting into each of these respective courses. Thanks, Pat. We can move on to the next slide. So in terms of medical science, you can probably appreciate that now more than ever, with the new normal that we're all experiencing, there's a very timely and pressing need for medical scientists. And so the medical science course really teaches you how to be an adaptable and an agile medical scientist. So we often talk about this course as being the people side of science. So we take a look at the body's structure and function, both under normal conditions, and what happens when things go wrong. So what happens in a variety of disease states. We also drill down to the cellular and whole organ level. So if you have an interest in human disease generally, and you see yourself being in a career where you might be motivated to help people with a variety of diseases, then this course may well be for you. So in terms of our learning outcomes, we have a nice balance between theory and practice, and this course is quite tightly aligned with a lot of the medical research that is happening within UTS. So you really get a research-inspired curriculum. And I'll get to the course structure in a moment, but the course is structured so that one of your semesters is devoted to you being able to undertake either an internship or electives of your choice. So if we move on to the course structure now, Pat. So this is what the Bachelor of Medical Science course looks like. And you'll notice that as you go from first year to second year to third year, we increase the degree of specialisation. Now, our medical and health orientated courses within the Faculty of Science have a rather common first year. So you can see in your first year that you do a little bit of chemistry, you look at cell biology and genetics. We introduce you to human anatomy and physiology and physical aspects of nature. There's a lot of physics in how the organs and tissues of the body function. So this gives you a nice foundation on which we can build. Then once you enter your second year, you can see that there's a higher degree of specialisation. So you look at physiological systems, how the body goes together. We look at molecular biology. We look at human pathophysiology, what happens in various disease states. And we look at the process of evidence-based medicine. So how can we look at randomized clinical trials? How can we assess them? And how can we use that information to drive health policy recommendations? Now more than ever, personalised or precision medicine is very, very important. We look at all diseases now not as being a single entity, but rather multiple entities that are driven by a genetic background. So we spend a little bit of time getting you introduced to the concept of human genetics and precision medicine. Now, your third year actually kicks off with your ability to take either 4 free electives. So you may use this to develop more specialist knowledge within the Faculty of Science by taking more medical science subjects. You may elect to do an internship either inside our research laboratories here within the Faculty of Science or externally. And then our third year, we take you a little bit further with pharmacology. We look at medical devices and diagnostics. So how do we develop diagnostic tests? How do we develop a whole lot of medical devices to help various diseases? And what's the process by which these go basically from bench to bedside and the commercialization process? We look at neuroscience, and then we bring it all together by looking at case studies in medical science. And this subject is really focused on how do you communicate medical science to a variety of audiences. If I could have the next slide, please, Pat. Now, sometimes people prefer to do a more generalised degree. So we also have a Bachelor of Science where you can major in medical science. And if you look at this course program, you will notice that there's a lot of similarities to the medical science program, but you can see that you have a large elective block. And if you just look at the subjects there, it enables you to, in some ways, tailor your course for where your interests lie. And once again, you can see that in first semester, third year, you have that opportunity for internships and professional experience. So this is a good option for students who might want a bit more flexibility in their course, or they may not have the ATAR to get into the named degree, so they may elect to do the Bachelor of Science majoring in medical science. Next slide, please, Pat. So this slide really just summarises the career opportunities. So the bullet points here just really show where a lot of our students go after they graduate. So a lot of them will be in the hospital environment, involved with clinical trials. Some will go into science communication. Many become research assistants or working for medical device companies, and a lot of students will also elect for further study by way of honours or masters and ultimately a PhD. So that just gives you a brief synopsis of the medical science program and where it will take you. Thanks, Pat.
Hi everyone, my name's Charles. I'm the program director for the Biomedical Sciences. And so here I'm going to be talking about the Bachelor of Science majoring in Biomedical Science, just following on from what Bronwyn's been saying. So what is biomedical science then? Well, biomedical science is what we like to think of as the blood and guts of science. And we're trying to figure out how the inner workings of the body work and how you can determine what changes are occurring in the body. And so it's getting into the lab and figuring these things out. So we're going to teach you about all the lab techniques that you need to understand what's going on with your body. And that will equip you with the knowledge to diagnose disease. So it's all about pathology and pathology testing. And so in this subject, you will learn some advanced microscopy techniques, some biochemistry techniques, analytical techniques that we typically use in the science labs when we do our research, as well as analytical techniques that they use in pathology labs. We explain what causes diseases, and we explain how to diagnose diseases. Thanks, Pat. If you could move on one more. So this is the structure of the Bachelor of Science, majoring in biomedical science. Your first year is very similar to what Bronwyn described just before. In second year, it's a little bit different. We have some extra subjects such as epidemiology and analytical biochemistry, as well as immunology in there. And this is to teach you about the diseases and the workings of the body related to those diseases and how we fight diseases. We have third year, we have that elective session again, where you can do an internship if you like, or you can select subjects from anywhere across the university, so long as they fit in your timetable and are worth the appropriate amount of credit points. And then in the last half of third year, we do clinical bacteriology, hematological diagnostics, which is studying about blood and doing what we know about blood and how to diagnose things from blood. We do a bit more immunology, because immunology is so important to fighting diseases. And then we also have to do our biochemistry bit. We have to understand the basics of what's going on with those diseases. And so, Pat, if we can get to the next slide, thank you. And we get to the career opportunities. And this biomedical science is really tailored towards hospital laboratories and pathology laboratories and private laboratories. But also you can get jobs as research assistant, and maybe any managerial roles about policy, about the policy around how we manage diseases and things like that. So there's really quite a lot of opportunities in biomedical science. And I think I'm done. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Charles and Rowan. I'm just going to spend a few minutes just to present to you what the Bachelor of Advanced Science is. I'm the Program Director of Advanced Astronomer. Advanced Science includes both pharmaceutical science and pre-medicine. I do understand there are a few students here or parents who have questions about the program. And essentially, just in gist, Advanced Science is a small group of students who have who are very motivated, very driven in achieving a lot of stuff in their program, because they do want to pursue a certain pathway after completing the degree. Pat, do you mind moving on to the next slide? Now, in the next two slides, I'm just going to show you the general structure of pharmaceutical science and pre-medicine. As what Charles and Brian mentioned earlier, the first year for advanced science is very similar to the biomedical science and medical science. It's when you go into second year and third year, that's when you go into your majors. For the pharmaceutical science, there will be a lot of chemistry subjects and also an understanding about epidemiology and the human body system. Next slide, please. In pre-medicine, when you go into this major, you will go into a lot more anatomical understanding and correlating that with clinical diseases. So there is also involvement of physiology, and just like pharmaceutical science, you will also have some form of chemistry and pharmacology as well. Could I just proceed to the next one? Thanks. Now, completing pharmaceutical science and pre-medicine will lead you to certain pathways. The most obvious one is that if you complete pre-medicine, you'll come prepared for sitting the GAMSAT, for applying to postgraduate medical school, whether it's within Sydney or interstate. For the pharmaceutical science, it is a pathway for pursuing a master in pharmacy, and you have all of the prerequisites in order to pursue that career path. Besides that, both degrees, pharmaceutical science and pre-medicine, also prepares you as becoming researchers in the future. So if you don't want to pursue medicine or master in pharmacy immediately, you can always go into a PhD or a master in another form of research. You can also participate in other career paths, for example, being involved in clinical trials in the pharmaceutical industry or in the medical device industry. Next slide, please, Pat. That's it for me. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to entertain those later.
Thank you so much to our academics, Francis, Charles, and Bronwyn. I also wanted to mention that UTS is also pleased to share our early entry program. So this is just a program for any high achieving school students that will just secure you a position in your UTS degree based on your year 11 academic achievements. So the applications are now currently open for year 12 students who wish to study in 2022. We do have a website available, so that is uts.edu.au/early entry, but literally you can just Google early entry UTS and it should come up as the first option. So now we are going to answer any questions that you guys might have had during this whole talk. But just a reminder, you can also chat to us after this session. So we've got chats happening this day and also on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. So feel free to, just drop in and ask any questions that you have. We also have virtual tours available. So obviously we can't be on campus this year, but you can still take a look at the facilities through videos and hopefully in the future once you are attending UTS. And this is all available on the Open Day website. So once again, you can just Google Open Day UTS and it should all just be up there. So that's enough information from us. Basically, I'll just ask one of our students some questions now. So Grace, I might ask you some questions. What made you decide that you wanted to actually pursue medical science?
Initially, I think I wanted to be a doctor, but I feel like being at uni and really having a wide range of subject choices, especially in the elective subjects, really made me focus more on research. So I've kind of stuck with medical science and plan on continuing on with that.
Yeah, fair. I think a lot of students often say that, where they go in expecting one degree and come out doing something completely different.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any highlights at all about studying a degree at UTS? Or?
Yeah, I know that the academics earlier spoke a lot about the internships, and I just would like to reiterate that it is an absolutely invaluable experience. I did one last semester at Centenary, and I think that it was one of the most interesting experiences for me personally, and I learnt a lot, not just about science, but about research.
Yeah, awesome. And any advice you want to give any potential new medical science students or biomedical science students?
Yeah, my biggest advice would be read widely, and then you find out what your interests are. I feel like if you know what your interests are, it really gives you a goal to study towards, whether that be, I don't know, bacteria or parasites. There's always something out there for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. Sweet. So we can now go on to everyone else's questions. So I'll take a peek and see what everyone has been writing. Awesome. Okay, cool. So we've got a question asking, what is the difference in course structure between biomedical sciences and the Bachelor of Science, in brackets, biomedical science? So any of our academics willing to answer that question?
I think I better step in here. The Bachelor of Biomedical Science has been suspended for a bit. So we're not actually offering that. So if you want to do the biomedical science subjects, then do the Bachelor of Science with a major in biomedical science. And the course structure is as I showed earlier.
Thank you, Charles. This question is probably best fit for Francis. After studying the Bachelor of Advanced Science in Pre-Medicine, can you then add the Bachelor of Laws later? So sort of like a dual degree.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. In the current program does does not provide an option, as far as I know, to add Bachelor of Law. But there are combined degrees. For example, for the advanced science degree, you can add the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovations, which is another degree that adds several units to your entire structure. So an additional year, which you have to complete the entire program over 4 years. You can find more information about that combined degree, so advanced science degree plus Bachelor in Creative Intelligence and Innovation. That's the only one I know at the moment that is combined with advanced science. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Another question here, when we say medical science is a people science, does this mean that we actually work with people, or is it more lab oriented? I can probably actually answer that question because I work a bit in medical science. Medical sciences can be a people science, but because it's such a broad degree, it means that you can not only work in an environment working with people, but you can also, if you prefer, just work in a lab or in a hospital laboratory, or even in some of those private laboratories that work a lot on making testing kits. So for example, a lot of friends that I've got will be working in a lot of those new private laboratories that pop up making testing kits for COVID testing. So essentially they don't work with the community, they don't really work with patients and things like that, but they are still doing medical or biomedical sciences. On the other hand, you can work in certain jobs, like in the public health arena, where you work a bit more closely with the community. But I hope that sort of answers your question. Let's see what other questions we have. Yeah, this is a good one. What course do we have to do to be a pharmacist, or if you want to go into pharmacy?
I can answer that, Pat. So there are a few choices. With respect to the advanced science degree, you can use if you don't get into a pharmacy degree, which is, I think, part of the Faculty of Health, you can use the advanced science in pharmaceutical science, okay, as a pathway into the Master of Pharmacy. You can also use, for example, the pre-medicine degree if you want to pursue pharmacy afterwards, mainly because both degrees have the prerequisites that would satisfy the requirements of the Master in Pharmacy. And we do hold information sessions, and the head of the pharmacy would also come to our pharmacology subjects to present more information on how to prepare to apply for a Master in Pharmacy. Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Francis. Another question for you, Francis. You're very popular.
Yeah.
Can you combine advanced science with engineering?
Not that I know of. The only combination I know is the creative intelligence and innovation.
Yeah. Another question in regards to pathology, would any course be more suitable towards doing that? Would medical science or biomedical science be more pathology based?
I would suggest that the biomedical science the Bachelor of Science majoring in biomedical science would be better for pathology, because that's where we really teach the pathology type stuff on how to diagnose things.
Yeah. In terms of careers for biomedical sciences, are these general diagnostic jobs in industry, or can this also be research in academia?
Yeah, either. Absolutely either. Yep. So a lot of people who go through their biomedical science degree then end up doing honours as well. And then they can do honours in one of the labs at UTS. And then that can lead then onto a PhD if they're really willing, and that's the kick-starting to an academic career in doing research, scientific research. So absolutely, that's one pathway. And of course, there are jobs in the booming pathology industry, particularly in New South Wales health pathology at the moment, as well as the labs such as Lavities and all other diagnostic labs that are out there. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Okay, so someone's asking for more information on the postgrad certificate and diploma in medical laboratory science.
Yeah, great. Their new courses have just started this year, and they're really exciting because we've got New South Wales Health Pathology involved in helping the creation of those as well. So that's just a bit more advanced for the industry, for those who really want to work in a pathology lab. And it's especially tailored actually at the moment to those who are already working in the lab who need to upskill a bit. But certainly once you finish your degree, you might be interested in doing either the grad cert or the grad dip for that extra qualification in pathology. Yeah, in the pathology field.
Sweet. Yeah. We've also got a question. Can the Bachelor of Medical Science lead on to any careers within dentistry?
Not specifically for dentistry. So probably the best, if you're interested in dentistry, and a lot of the courses now postgraduate, it's probably best to check with that specific university in terms of pathways. So it would certainly provide you with some of the prerequisite knowledge, but it's not a pathway per se.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And last question, we've got, oh, sorry, Francis, did you want to mention something?
No, just briefly, because I do have a few students before who had continued doing pre-medicine and pursued dentistry afterwards, because after looking at the curriculum of the program, he or she felt that the preparation was suitable for going to this dentistry.
Yeah, sweet, thank you. And last question, if you don't get the required ATAR for your course, can you still get into uni to do one of these courses that you guys mentioned? I think I can really quickly answer that one. Yeah, so there's a lot of options available. So UTS usually offers a lot of sort of extra programs that you can do to get into university, even if you don't have the required ATAR. A lot of people also will usually do 1 year of a degree that they were able to get the required ATAR for. Do that, get the skills doing other subjects, and then in the next few years, just try out for the degree that you actually did want to do. And that way you get a bit of experience and you can get into the course that you actually wanted to get into at the end anyway. But yeah, there are other options as well. And I think we are now officially out of time, but I do want to say thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Awesome questions. Thanks again to our academics for being here as well, and for Grace as well. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I hope we see you guys around. Thanks.